Welcome to Season 4 of the Get Out of Teaching podcast presented by Larksong Enterprises. This podcast is for teachers who are considering leaving education but feel like they have no options. I'm your host, Elizabeth Diakos. I'm a career transition coach who guides overwhelmed teachers through a 5-step process out of education and into a life they love. I'd like to see a world where the work of teachers is valued and respected, and that teachers have a career pathway that enables them to continue to offer value to society beyond their work in the classroom. So in this season, we'll be speaking to other experts who help people to change careers, as well as a few ex-teachers who've forged a pathway into something new. So come along for the ride as we get out of teaching. Every week I talk to teachers who want to leave the classroom but don't know what to do next. Many of them still have a passion for teaching. So I'm delighted to have ex-teacher Kahila Sivas as a podcast sponsor. Kahila has created a unique private practice as an online math and learning success coach, which has given her the freedom to follow her passion to teach and to make an impact. Now Kahila runs a business where she trains other teachers who want to escape the classroom. This is for teachers of any subject and any level who want to build a business while they're still working so they can confidently transition out of the classroom. Her mission is to help teachers to escape the classroom, create the income they deserve, find their inner balance, and make a huge impact in the lives of their students. Kahila runs regular webinars to explain her method and training programs. Check out her website at www.mathcodes, that's mathcodes.com/webinar, or email Kahila at kahila@mathcodes.com to get more information and set yourself up for success. Episode 19. Hi everyone and welcome to the show. On today's show, I'm very pleased to be interviewing two people, James Heiser and John Lonergan from Recruit 50 Plus. James and John specialise in helping mature age candidates become more competitive in the job market. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to start with James. And James, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this field.
My background, I spent 30 years in Queensland Rail working across the business. Now, you've got to remember it's multifaceted, everything from engineering to selling tickets in the long-distance ticket office. So I had a wide range of experience. I ended up in business improvement and quality assurance, which I loved, and is still very much a passion of mine. I have a hidden talent for process improvement using flowcharts and other tools. I took a redundancy about 7 or 8 years ago when I'd had enough of a lot of issues that were going on. We couldn't get any improvement projects up and running. We had an election on at the time, change of government, all those issues. So I left. And I got a temporary job with BP where I'm still working part-time. About 2 years ago, maybe not that, but a year and a half ago, I met John Lonergan through the Connect Collaborative in Brisbane. And I'd been a member of the Connect Collaborative previously, and John reached out to me again, and we linked up, and I think it's fair to say we get on quite well. We've got a similar sense of humour and attitude towards a lot of things. He asked me to become a guinea pig for the company he was setting up with the other two owners. And I did a lot of the training, and I recommended training, etc., which I'd had experience doing before. And that was eye-opening to me. Eventually, John said, well, you are kind of Recruit 50 Plus's candidate. Come work for us.
Oh, nice.
Here I am.
Okay.
I enjoy every minute of it.
That's fantastic. So that's a nice way to be a guinea pig and then end up getting a job. Yeah. I like that. So, John, what about you? How did you get into this field? And by the way, you guys are both in Queensland, so you actually met in person. I'm just a little bit jealous about that right now because we're still in lockdown here in Melbourne. How did you get into what you're doing?
Yeah, I was a guinea pig too.
Oh, really?
But, no, I wasn't. But that's how I being involved in networking, building the network, and that very, very much so. And a gentleman came to me and said, would you be interested in commencing a startup in the recruitment area for mature age people? And my previous background had been in strategic planning and business modelling and business planning and helping startups and that sort of thing. So I thought, yep, we'll do this. And that was only about 18 months ago. So we're Recruit 50 Plus is still very, very new. But so away we went. We're both mature age people. We've both owned businesses all our lives. We've been self-employed, and we're both at our end of a career and looking for something else. And we both commented that we were unemployable. Probably because of our age and experience. So that was the catalyst why we thought that Recruit 50 Plus would be a good startup. We specialise in the training of mature age people to become more competitive in the job search market. We also help them with job placement.
Right. Okay.
But show them different ways of applying for jobs and being in the right place at the right time without applying online all the time, which is very inefficient.
Yeah. Okay. So then spill the beans, because this is what my listeners are mostly 40 plus, and they're either they want to get out of teaching, generally speaking, and they might want to go into a role in the education sector, but maybe not in the classroom, or they're thinking, I want to get out entirely, or I'm going to set up my own business because I can't find a job that is going to allow me to live the kind of life that I want. So there's kind of three options. They stay in the field, they get out entirely, or they set up for themselves. Either way, it's really hard, especially as you get older, as you say. And I think there's this hidden ageism that I'm becoming more and more aware of. And how do we combat that, and how do we make ourselves future-proof?
Yes. Yeah, my only regret is that we didn't call Recruit 50 Plus Recruit 40 Plus, because it happens from about 40 on. It's certainly ageism is certainly prevalent at the age of 45 for candidates. What we do is not only teach people who have been employed in the one industry for a period of time and excuse the term, but being institutionalized in that career mold. Many people are, especially for instance in the public services and teaching, police force we deal with, and teach them how to reinvent themselves, how to change their paradigm shift away from how they've been doing their form of business all those years, and completely reinventing themselves and doing it in a different way. And we help show them how to think about themselves differently, how to consider their worth differently. A lot of people underestimate the value that they can offer to the business world. And so we help them go about presenting themselves, selling themselves much better. We've reinvented the CV because we've reinvented how people search, mature age students search for work, and it's as I said before, it's not online. That doesn't work well for us at all. There's a different way of doing it, and it's building one's network that does it. 85% of jobs are filled by referral, not by online applications. And the other option we have is a lot of people feel that they don't want to be employed again. They do want to start their own business, and so we help them discover what that's about, because a lot of people invest good money into buying a franchise or buying a business without knowing how to do their due diligence. And both the other director and myself are franchise adjuncts, so we help people do due diligence and look at what the business would, whether it's a suitable business for somebody to buy into if they've been employed in one industry all their life. We help them create. They
might get a retrenchment package or something like that.
Absolutely.
So they've got a bit of ready cash, and they're like, "Oh, how can I spend this?" And you're helping them actually make wise decisions about it.
And you don't want to blow it. You don't want to blow it. Yeah.
I blew my long service leave. I had a lovely time. in and out an art studio for 6 months. But yeah, anyway, that's another story, right? Okay, so James, what you've done the training for this. So what does it involve? How do you actually help people?
Okay, the training comes across on several fronts. One, we have a couple of different pathways that you can follow. One is if you're trying to get back into the workforce. We have a second pathway if you want to start your own business. Then you can basically select what you want to do if there's certain subjects there. We use a lot of different training courses. You do everything from upgrading things like Word to studying customer service to understanding how people interact with each other. All those things are covered. So the whole aspect of preparing yourself to go back into the workforce is covered.
Right. Okay. So I've got an example for you. I've been using this avatar. Her name's Donna. She's 52. She wants to get out of teaching and she wants to work in another field. And she'd like to match her teaching income. And I'm going to say that's 95,000 Australian. But she's willing to wait a few years before she gets back up to that level. Yeah. And she really wants to have the kind of job that she can have a bit of flexibility, maybe go to the toilet when she feels like it. That's a privilege. And also just, if she has to have an appointment or take a personal phone call during the day, all hell won't break loose. Okay. So just in other words, a bit of balance in the work life.
One thing we strongly look at is work-life balance. We also strongly look at setting goals. If you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're going. Mm. And we've got quite a few partners, associates who are skilled in that area, and we can use their courses or we can refer people to them to determine what it is they want to do. And I think that's critical. I know when I left Queensland Rail, I kind of thought I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't 100% up with it. Mm. I think if I'd done the gold training then, it would have made a huge difference. Mm. From there, they can determine where they want to go, what type of skills. Do they need customer service skills? I think most people do these days. Do they need to improve their literacy, their computer literacy? Do they need to improve maybe, as I said, things like their Microsoft skills or their Apple skills, whatever. And so you start looking at that type of thing. What is it? Where is it they're going? What is it they'll need?
So that sounds like a lot. Do you actually train people with all of those areas?
We can through our service providers and through our own courses, yes. We use some external courses, also online courses. They're fantastic. I actually helped select them. We had, it must have been 1,000 different courses there, and I went through a lot of them. I said, I like this, this, and this. And from my experience as an over 50, see, when you put in for a job now, I'll say, when did you last update your Microsoft Word or your Excel? Well, 20 years ago. I've updated it in the workplace as far as kept up to date, but people like to see that piece of paper.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Sure. Didn't even know that was a thing. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. But it's amazing. But when I went through and did it, it freshened me up. I learned things I'd forgotten. You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, true.
And so you can look, if you decide, hey, I want to go work for a not-for-profit organisation, there's certain, customer service and understanding of the Discrimination Act and things like that you need to do. Just be up to speed. John might want to elaborate on that further. But,
yeah.
We often refer to it as the journey. In fact, we produce a lot of our own courses that are specifically designed for mature age candidates who are doing that transition from coming from one industry most of their life and learning how to reinvent themselves. We call that the journey, and it can take it can take anything up to a couple of years for somebody to grasp that. We understand that, and we know the emotions that are involved in that journey. So a lot of our courses we've produced ourselves, and they're designed to help people change that paradigm shift and embark upon that journey, how to use all their disadvantages to their advantage.
So tell me about that. That's an interesting idea. How do you use your disadvantages to your advantage?
Well, for instance, it's a common belief that older people are slower learners, that they're not as productive or not as reliable, elderly, sickly, that sort of thing. And that's just not the case. Mature age candidates are 5 times more likely to stay in the job that they're being interviewed for. 5 times. That's a huge saving, monetary saving for employers. The average job stay at the moment in Australia is about 2.8 years. So people, and the reason being is that in general, the worker will be looking at the next step for their career, whereas mature age candidates are coming out with a new career in mind, and the objective is to is reliability and longevity in the job. Mature age candidates make better role models. They take fewer sick days. They're better supporters of the company culture. They're less likely to be injured at work.
Oh, because they're just not risk takers, like not as stupid. Is that why?
Sure. So it helps to recognise what your disadvantages are, so that you can turn them around and sell yourself better. And overcoming objections, I guess, that the employer might have to employing somebody who's older, knowing how to sell yourself better, and that's why we reinvented the CV. We completely leapfrog online applications.
Okay, so I'll go back to James. And James, I just had you muted because there was some background noise, so you're going to have to unmute.
Yes.
Okay, so John was just talking about the next sort of what happens next. Can you comment on that?
What happens next with the journey? Yeah, look, for everyone, I think it's very different. People have different objectives, they have different goals, and I think the goals determine what people want to do. They don't realise the added skills that they do have. It's not. If I was to put 20 resumes in front of you, you would probably see so many of them have got, if all accountants have all got a Bachelor of Business Accountancy. But it's the ability of the older worker to lead, to mentor, to adapt. It's not what program they can use or whatever. So it's getting them to realise that's where they're different and that's what they have to sell.
So how do you, John, you were talking about before the networking aspect. How do you bypass the whole, because everyone I know in this who's looking for a job goes to Seek or the equivalent wherever they are in the world to look for their job. It's like the first port of call. And then you do your search, you put in whatever keywords you think maybe are going to be relevant, and you click search and you sit back and hope for the best.
And listen to the crickets.
Yeah. So how do you bypass all of that? And how are you magically conjuring up these jobs that are appearing out of nowhere, seemingly?
Okay, well, as I was saying before, for mature age candidates, the secret is building your network, meeting people you don't know yet. And we put a lot of emphasis on teaching mature age candidates how to do that, how to build their network. We have courses for it. We have a communities that practice doing it, because as LinkedIn recently did a survey and stated that their survey figures showed that 85% of jobs were filled by referral, not online applications. And also when you're making online application, your resume is formatted in a specific way so that it can be read by a robot. And it's called ATS, Applicant Tracking System. And the people who write those programs boast to their marketplace, the recruiters and the big employers, that they'll deselect up to 75% of applicants straight away before even human eyes get to look at them. So they'll save you heaps of time. Hey, that doesn't do mature age candidates any favours, and it doesn't do the employer any favour either, because it eliminates a lot of good prospects. So your actual chance of getting an interview online is about 4%, much less than a job. So it's all about reinventing the CV. We teach people how to, we create for them 2 different types of CVs. One all based on the networking process, and the first one focused on a 30-second window to say, "Hey, look at me," and the second one a 90-second window saying, "Hey, this is a bit more about me. We need to get together and have a talk."
Is this a paper document that you create?
Yeah, yes. Both of those documents are electronically. We produce them electronically, and you can use them individually, or you can use them as a generic application to put yourself out there. But it's all about teaching mature age candidates how to sell themselves better, how to present themselves better, and how to go about that, where to present themselves. That's really important. Online is just not doing it for us.
Right. Okay. So if I was coming out of a job or I'm thinking of leaving and I wanted to start up, begin that networking process, what would be the first few steps I would need to take?
Firstly, register with Recruit 50 Plus so that we can have a talk with you and work out what your goals are, and give you some information so that you can make some decisions. Then we'd bring along to other every week. We would bring you along to other like-minded people that are accommodating in their and happy to talk to people and tell you who they know, and give you referrals if you get to know them, and they'll give you referrals.
So are these people? They've got companies, or are they other people looking for work, or who are they?
All of the above. They own companies. They're general managers. They're looking for work. They're small business owners. Lots and lots. So we would expose a person to about 200 odd people, like-minded people that are that way inclined in that sort of a community. But we would also teach them how to find more and how to reach outside that community, and how to meet people they don't know yet, so that they can shoot over their little quick sheet, one sheet CV, and then they're
How did you get into this? How did you create that network initially?
Yeah, quite deliberately. I went fishing in the Northern Territory for a few years, and when I came back after being in business for 35 years, my network had evaporated. So being the strategic planner I am, I wrote down my business plan for my new plan, what I planned on doing for the next few years, and right at the start was to build my network up again. But the only problem was I didn't have another 35 years. Still don't, but to build it again. So I knew I had to learn some new skills on building it much faster and quicker. So I went around many meetup groups and networking groups, and basically you get approach to buy a new watch or buy a second-hand car or something, that sort of thing. So it's very transactional, and that's not what I was after. I was after wanting to meet people. So when I got introduced to a community of like-minded collaborators, I knew straight away that that's the group I wanted to be involved with, because they were all about not making a quick sale. They're all about, hey, get to know each other and talk about other people that you know, and before that, your network grows geometrically and quite rapidly. And that's how you get connections, and that's how you get you find new positions, new jobs, and new careers, and new business ownership opportunities.
And James, can I switch back to you? What have you seen in terms of just people's experience of that, of being exposed to a network?
It's been quite dramatic. I mean, when you jump onto the network and you see people just saying, there's people out there who are just like me. They've got my type of experience. They've been in my situation, and they understand who and what I'm about. It was no different to myself, and that's how I met John. I had been sitting on night shift for some time with BP. I had a really bad night one night where I actually started to get seriously depressed, and I thought, I'm not going to let this happen. So I thought, I've got to start looking around, and I jumped on LinkedIn, and it was only a matter of days before John contacted me, and he introduced me to the people who I'm now so familiar with. And so it just turned out that I ended up working with John. But
So when let's go back to that initial, you went on LinkedIn. What did you do?
I just changed it. I re-edited it and said what I wanted to do, and that I was possibly chasing work, that type of thing. I didn't do a particularly good job of it. I'll admit that now, and I don't think a lot of people do. You put the jobs you've done. You don't put the person you are or what you can bring to a business, which is probably, particularly business improvement, is probably more common. It is more important, I should say. Everyone has the same thing in common in business improvement as far as their education or a lot of their experience, but it's your approach that differs. And that's probably the type of thing I push to people now is, what is your approach? Are you a mentor? Are you a leader? Do you want to even do that? Or do you want to sit in the corner? And again, it's all based about re-establishing the goals and understanding who you are. I think that's critical.
I often ask my clients, if you were going to be working in a hotel, would you be the concierge at the front door, or would you be in the back room somewhere crunching the numbers? Where would you like to be? And most of the people I work with say, I want to be at the front. But every now and again, I'll find someone who wants to be at the back where they don't have to talk to anyone because they've spent the last 30 years talking to people and they just want a break from that. Okay, so as we begin to wrap this up, John, what would you say we need to be thinking about if someone was wanting to move into a new career or a new field? What's the number one thing they need to think about? And James, heads up, I'm going to ask you the same question. So hopefully the answers are slightly different. So what's the number one thing we need to be thinking about as we move into a new career pathway?
Yeah, well, this is where we like to spend a little bit of time with people to start with, is to discover what their real skills and what their real attributes are. They often don't recognise them. And we build a new story and help them reinvent themselves. And at the start of it, they're most mature age candidates are quite hesitant, frightened of the unknown, but soon discover, gee, there's lots of things I can do. And that is the case. And there's also lots of industries you can work in too, not just the one that people tend to pigeonhole themselves in all the time. It's a matter of recognising where these attributes can be used in what fields, and going out and selling them in that particular way.
Nice. And what about you, James? Any insights there?
I think John hit the hammer on the nail as far as I'm concerned. I always say to people, look, it's understanding that you may not remain in the same role. You can do something very different. It's the transferability of your skills to another role. It's your ability to adapt and take on something that you may never even have thought of. In my own case, as I said, I would never imagine myself in this type of role, but I had obviously had the skills and the talent to do it. But I wasn't thinking that way. Yes, I'd done some recruitment selection in previous jobs on the side, et cetera, and selection panels. So you've got to understand that your world is going to be a different place. What do you want to get out of it?
Nice.
And what have you got the ability to?
Yeah.
A lot of people come to us, they're general managers and they're CEOs, and they think, oh, well, I've got to find another general manager job or another CEO job or CFO or COO and or upper management. And that's not the case. If you can change to a different industry, you can actually reinvent yourself and make a contribution in a completely different area that you hadn't thought of. So GMs don't have to go back into a job as a GM. If you're open-minded, it can be quite exciting because it can be quite different. And that's the varieties of spice of life. And when you're a mature age candidate and you go for a new career, it should be revitalizing and it should be new. And so it's a shock, I guess, that actually benefits you. You understanding your disadvantages and what your restrictions are being and learning how to open them up and take advantage of them. It helps you grow. We're never too old to grow.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so last question for both of you. I'll go James first, then John. What's your favourite song?
Rolling Stones' Jumping Jack Flash.
John's looking horrified. Why are you so shocked, John, at that?
Because I was going to say Angie Rolling Stones.
That's my second favourite song.
Yeah.
Really?
Actually, my turn around a bit with me.
There you go.
You guys are funny.
You've got excellent taste in music, James.
Okay, so you peas in a pod, definitely. Oh, James Heiser, John Lonergan, thank you so much for joining me on the Get Out of Teaching podcast today. It's been great fun.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Elizabeth.
You've been listening to the Get Out of Teaching podcast, presented by Larksong Enterprises, with your host, Elizabeth Diakos. Do you know someone else who could benefit from hearing more stories of hope and transition from teachers all around the world? Please take a moment to share this and other episodes via your podcast app. Each share helps me reach listeners just like you who can benefit from this content. The Get Out of Teaching podcast is proud to be part of the Experts on Air podcast network. For show notes and other resources, please visit larksong.com.au/podcast.